When The Big Bang Theory first appeared on television in 2007, it seemed like a simple sitcom built on nerdy jokes, comic book references, and a clash between science and everyday life. But behind the polished laughter and colorful sets was a story that most fans never knew. The show we watched for 12 seasons was not the one originally created. In fact, the series we came to love almost never happened at all. The very first pilot episode was a disaster. Instead of charming characters and witty banter, audiences saw Sheldon and Leonard walking into a sperm bank, discussing the idea of selling their genius DNA. It wasn't funny, it wasn't warm, and it left test viewers uncomfortable. Sheldon wasn't the quirky genius fans would later adore. He came across as cold and unlikable. Leonard wasn't endearing, he seemed desperate. Chuck Lorre, the creator, later admitted it felt wrong on every level. So he did something rare in Hollywood. He threw the episode away. He erased it, rewrote the show, and introduced a new dynamic. An aspiring actress named Penny, moving in across the hall. With that single change, the awkward disaster transformed into the version of The Big Bang Theory that would go on to dominate global television. The sperm bank pilot was never aired again, never released officially, and never included in reruns. For most fans, it's as if it never existed, buried as a secret chapter in television history. But the untold stories of The Big Bang Theory didn't stop there. What appeared on screen as a cheerful sitcom was, at times, a workplace filled with tension, accidents, and challenges. The cast often joked, played pranks, and laughed together, but one prank almost ended in tragedy. During a season 6 rehearsal, Johnny Galecki, who played Leonard, jokingly threw a mock punch at Cuoco, who played Penny. It was harmless in intention, but Cuoco fell backwards, hitting her head against a chair with a loud thud. At first, the crew laughed, thinking it was part of the act. But laughter quickly turned into horror as blood became visible. Cuoco was rushed for treatment and received stitches. The next day, she returned to set with new bangs that covered the injury, pretending everything was fine. But the incident shook the cast. Chuck Lorre immediately banned physical pranks, putting up signs across stage 25 that warned, "No roughhousing, no dangerous stunts." What had once been a playful set was suddenly quieter, a reminder that even in comedy, danger could hide behind the laughter. Not all controversies happened on set. In 2016, the show found itself at the center of a censorship storm. In the episode, The Veracity Elasticity, Sheldon dreams of Leonard and Penny turning his old bedroom into something outrageous. In America, the sequence aired in full. Leonard appeared in a leather harness chained to a cross, while Penny wore risque clothing. Audiences laughed, but in the United Kingdom, the entire sequence was erased. Broadcasters called it inappropriate for family viewing, and decided to delete the whole scene rather than edit it. British fans were confused when the episode suddenly jumped, and online forums buzzed with speculation. Soon, clips of the missing scene appeared online, spreading like wildfire. What was meant to be a silly gag turned into an international debate about censorship, and for the first time, The Big Bang Theory wasn't just a sitcom, it was part of a cultural controversy. As the show grew into a billion-dollar empire, money became both a blessing and a burden. By season 10, the 5 original stars, Jim Parsons, Johnny Galecki, Kaley Cuoco, Simon Helberg, and Kunal Nair, were each making $1 million per episode. But Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch, who had joined later and become vital characters, were earning less than a quarter of that amount. The pay gap became a topic of debate in Hollywood. Fans questioned the fairness, and the press pushed the issue. In a surprising move, the original 5 stars agreed to take $100,000 pay cuts each so that their co-stars could receive raises. It was still not equal pay, but it was a gesture of solidarity rarely seen in Hollywood, where paychecks often divide casts. This decision allowed the show to continue without fracture, and it sent a message that sometimes loyalty mattered more than money. Without that sacrifice, the final seasons of The Big Bang Theory might never have happened. The drama wasn't just about money, it was also about love. On screen, Leonard and Penny's romance was a central storyline. Off-screen, Johnny Galecki and Kaley Cuoco were living their own private love story. From the very first season, Sparks flew between them, though they kept it hidden from almost everyone. At Comic-Con, they sneaked between hotel rooms. On set, they stole quiet glances that only they understood. For nearly 2 years, the secret romance blossomed. Cuoco later admitted she had a crush on Galecki from the very beginning, while Galecki confessed that it took him time to realize his feelings. But by 2009, the relationship ended. They had grown too close, spent too much time together, and the mystery had faded. Remarkably, though, there was no scandal, no drama, no war of words. They ended as friends and carried on playing lovers on screen for nearly a decade after their breakup. Few couples in Hollywood could manage that kind of grace. Their story remains one of the show's most fascinating secrets, hidden in plain sight. The most dramatic turning point came in 2018, when Jim Parsons made a decision that would end it all. By then, Parsons had won 4 Emmys and become the face of the show. But privately, he felt his time was over. Chuck Lorre called a meeting, and to the cast's surprise, asked Parsons to speak. With a calm voice, Jim told his friends and colleagues that he would not return after season 12. The room fell silent. Kaley Cuoco cried openly. Johnny Galecki sat in stunned silence. Warner Brothers rushed forward with an offer, $50 million to stay. Parsons refused. He explained that his time as Sheldon had ended, and he could not continue. Chuck Lorre later admitted, without Sheldon, there could be no Big Bang Theory. And so, in 2019, after 12 seasons and 279 episodes, the series came to an end. The finale drew more than 18 million viewers, but the real ending had already happened in that private meeting when Parsons chose to walk away. Yet, the show's true magic came not just from scripts, but from accidents and improvisation. Sheldon's iconic 3 knocks was never originally written. It was created on set and became a signature. Melissa Rauch's squeaky Bernadette voice wasn't scripted either. It was her own invention that transformed the character. Kaley Cuoco's emotional tears often weren't acting, but real feelings bleeding into the performance. Kevin Sussman's awkward, "I love you," was unscripted, but it turned Stewart into one of the show's most memorable side characters. Even guest stars added chaos. Will Wheaton once appeared in Spock ears during a Star Wars-themed episode, sending the cast into unscripted laughter. These unscripted sparks became the heart of the show, proof that sometimes the best comedy isn't planned. It simply happens in the moment. In the end, The Big Bang Theory was much more than a sitcom about scientists, comic books, and quirky neighbors. Behind the laughter was a hidden story filled with mistakes, accidents, censorship battles, money disputes, secret romances, and personal choices that changed everything. It was a story of flawed humans, brilliant, fragile, loyal, and ambitious, who came together to create something bigger than themselves. The series became one of the most successful sitcoms in television history, but its greatest legacy may not be the jokes or the punchlines. It may be the reminder that even behind the brightest laughter lies a world of struggle, sacrifice, and humanity. That is the untold truth of The Big Bang Theory.